All right, people who are not familiar with astrology often ask me what kinds of information can actually be gotten out of an astrology chart. And that is a good question. In order to answer that, I've decided to do something new, and that is load a completely random chart. Completely random. So let me go ahead and just put in some information here into Starfisher. I will choose a random date. Let's just put it in the 1800s, 1854. So we'll call this May the 9th, 1854 at 10:33 p.m. 10:33 p.m. in London, and we'll just go from there. Okay, this is a random chart. It has a birth time and it has a birthplace, but it's we don't know who it is or what it is or anything about it. What kind of information can we get out of this chart? Well, uh, as I always tell people, just to get started, astrology is a basic snapshot of the sky when you're born. And so, obviously, we know this thing, whatever it is, whether it's a person or a project or a dog or whatever, was born at night because the sun is beneath the horizon. We know that it's its destiny, if you put destiny in quotes, to have structure associated with it. So the role of authority is going to be important there, and also social. There's a social element to it because when this thing projects its ego, whatever it is, it's going to have more social information and more investigative information associated with it because it's got a Mercury Pluto conjunct, and also it's got this bold line here, the imum coli, drawn out of other people. Whatever it is, even if it's a I don't know, a chair which came off of some kind of assembly line in somebody's shop, uh, compared to other chairs, it's going to be more likely to be associated with investigative uses, investigative information. So maybe that particular chair is more likely to break down besides other chairs. I'm just saying, these charts don't have to correspond to people. And it draws out what? The first duodecanate here of Aries. And so, no, wait a minute. Let me correct that here because we got the midheaven 27, 28. It's actually the second, barely. So the spontaneous display of values. Now, you don't have to understand what I just did. It's actually really complicated. But the point is that people tend to spontaneously declare what they like. I could see this being a desk chair. I mean, it doesn't have to be a person, but it draws out people's values all of a sudden. The way this thing approaches the world is to go forward, being bonded with people, and it has a reputation being associated with beauty because it is in Libra. So again, if you got an array of 10 chairs and this is the chart of a particular chair, then this is going to be more associated with beautiful things. But you notice that whatever this thing is has a character. It still has a character compared to the other kinds of things that it is. If it's a person, we could make some conclusions about that, but we don't know. Because astrology is just a general snapshot. It doesn't tell you whether we're looking at the chart of a human or an elephant or a man or a woman or a chunk of asteroid. We don't know what this chart is saying. But there are certain traits which tend to come together. Like this thing has a blessed talent for caretaking, apparently, in the social sense. And so it's going to be recognized among peers, among people who look at it and ascribe meaning to it as being really good at taking care of stuff. And it'll play a role in equalizing social justice as it does that, or at least equalizing social inequities. If this thing, whatever it is to influence people, it tends to be focused. It's really too bad that I have started with the chair analogy because I'm really convinced that this could be a really good chart for a desk chair, not actually a person. I must have biased myself, but it's good that we're not assuming that this is the chart of a human because we just couldn't say. Now, if it were the chart of a human, then you could go into more detail about what that meant because we know that humans communicate with each other and humans have emotional worlds. And so now we can start forming conclusions about the moon. If we know this is a human, for example, we would know that this person's emotional fulfillment tends to be richer when they go on journeys or they're making impressions among strangers because it's in the ninth house, and they're doing it via communication because it's in Libra, and they have a reputation for being Libra style communicators, um, investing their emotional character in it, but the nature of their one-to-one conversations with people actually tend to be more spontaneous, more shoot from the hip because they've got actual Venus in Aries and so on. Now, we could go on and on forever reading this and, houses and charts and areas of life and whatever, but another thing that I want to show you is that now that we have access to these asteroids, we can read all kinds of funny things. I'm just going to put in some random asteroids and add them because essentially these are additional planets. And when you put those additional planets in the chart, like Nephili, where you are expressly designed to defy your home training, this thing, whatever it is a rebel. I'm telling you. It's got Lilith right here for rebellion and Nephili for rebelling again. So it's trained to really rebel against its standard. We've got Brambilla, what it does in order to build up money. And apparently it does it in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th duodecanate of Leo. And so when it structures things for fun, it tends to make money. Really could be a chair. It's got Nessus. Here, Nessus is something like being associated with the media. And so when it conveys its ideas, it's more likely to have its character published on the social talk. It's got Liberatrix here, which is one of the mean 13. I'm not going to talk about that one here. And then it's also got Damocles. It's a very passionate kind of thing, and its passion may rub people the wrong way. If this were a particular dog, you'd have to watch out because this dog would have a mind of its own, probably get into things. People would love it, but it would piss people off in some way because it keeps rebelling randomly against what you told it. Anyway, there are lots of things that we can read in charts, and the more information we have, the merrier. Typically during a chart reading, I will know something, the astrologer will know something, you will know something about yourself. And so we can build on all of the kinds of information that I just read and really elaborate it into a pattern of action. But even without knowing anything about you whatsoever, we can get some sense of how certain kinds of behaviors tend to cluster together in the chart of pretty much anything, and this is anything born on Earth. Who knows what the astrology of other planets is like, where the charts start to spin and all that other stuff. But yes, you can get stuff from astrology without knowing anything whatsoever about the chart that you're reading.